The radical, fundamental principles of freedom, rational self-interest, and individual rights. This is the Yaron Brook Show.
All right, everybody, welcome to Yaron Brook Show on this Tuesday, March 17th. I am back from my short trip to Prospera in Honduras, which was, I really learned a lot, and it was enjoyable, and the people I was with were great, and the hosts, the Prospera hosts were fantastic, and learning about Prospera was really, really interesting. The one downside is there are sandflies on this island in Honduras, and I got bit. I think getting bitten is the understatement of the decade. I mean, I got eaten alive by these things. I started counting the number of bites I have, and I stopped because it was too many and too depressing. But probably over 100 bites, 50 on each leg, and then a few spread around the body elsewhere. They itch and burn like crazy. I've been taking Benadryl and other stuff, and beware of sand flies. This is like 100 times worse than mosquitoes, and it's devastating. It is horrific. Don't go there. If you can avoid sandflies, avoid sandflies. And if you're in an area where it has them, wear long trousers and long shirts and socks and shoes as if you're, somewhere where it's cold. So I don't know that there's an easy way to exterminate them. There's genetic engineering, like killing all the mosquitoes, which is way overdue, and everything. Yeah, Ian says don't scratch. Yeah, that's great advice, Ian. I know don't scratch, but it's frigging itchy. Really, really, really itchy. I mean, not a little bit. And there were 100 of them. Well, over 100 of them. So you've got 100 things that are itchy. And anyway, that is what I'm dealing with right now. The fun of traveling to new and exotic places. Beware, I guess. All right, let's jump in and talk about, we'll start with the war in Iran and give you an update. So the negativity around the war in Iran only is accelerating, is intensifying. Like, everybody's super negative. Here's the Washington Post editorial board. They write how to solve the Hormuz crisis. Air superiority is not the same as sea control. A better bet may be to declare victory and walk away. Declare victory and walk away. Primacy of consciousness, complete nonsense. Are we victorious? Aren't we victorious? What's about declare victory? Are we winning? Are we losing? What if we can go through the goals of the war? Are we achieving them? Or we're not achieving them? We'll do that in a little bit. But this idea of declaring victory and walking away is ridiculous. Can we solve the problem in the Hormuz Straits? No, it's mind-boggling. You can't solve it. It's too difficult. It can't be done. This is the same naysaying negativity that the media and so-called military experts and the people who thought Israel would be eviscerated and the Iranians are so powerful and they'll launch all these missiles and they'll destroy. I mean, it's BS is being polite. Or the Pentagon's own assessment is that escorting the ships won't be feasible anytime soon. And yet, as we speak, ships from Japan, as I told you they would, India, several European countries are heading towards the Hormuz Straits. India is already escorting some of its ships out. Also, I should note about the Hormuz Straits, they're not actually closed. Iran, because it is worried about pissing off the Chinese and others, is allowing many ships through. All Iranian ships are going through. That's a big chunk of oil. And then other ships that the Iranians have concluded the oil is not going to the United States or to U.S. allies, they're going through. So a lot of the ships taking oil to Asia are going through. It is why, by the way, while oil prices are high, they're in the mid-90s, they're not at 150 where everybody thought they would be. They're not over 100 where everybody was certain they would be. Indeed, they came back down from 114. I mean, it's tragic that the Trump administration did not plan better for this. It's tragic that they didn't have a plan ready and they didn't engage with that plan immediately. But they're basically taking my plan and they're executing on it. They're getting a coalition of countries to supply ships. Some countries are saying no, and Trump is pretty upset. But look, Japan, India, Austria, I heard, Finland has argued for it, France. So there's going to be a coalition of ships. They will be escorting ships out if they need to. In the meantime, my understanding is that all the targets on the land are being slowly eliminated and crushed, so it would be very difficult for the Iranians to launch stuff towards these ships, including drones. Their drone capabilities are way down, way, way, way down. We'll get to that in a minute. And drones are relatively easy to knock down out of the air. What else? It's expensive, but it's doable. Oh, and the Navy, they've destroyed 100 different vessels that are part of the Iranian Navy. The Iranian Navy basically does not exist anymore. I'm sure there are boats still there, fast boats, small boats, that are probably still available, but they're not. The Iranians did not significantly mine the Hormuz Straits. And indeed, the United States is sending 2 minesweepers towards the Gulf. Again, should have been prepared for. They should have already been there. But they're sending them. Nobody should have expected this war to be done in 2 weeks. And what's the panic about? I mean, again, lack of planning means this gets delayed more than it should have. But there's no question a plan is possible and feasible and doable. And not to try is absurd, because not to try basically will send a message to the world. The United States is not living up to its commitment. It's not doing what it said. It is cowering before the Iranians. It is pretending it's got a victory without really solving the big problems. It is, it would send our Gulf allies, UAE and Saudi Arabia and so on, they would feel completely abandoned. And indeed, right now, given how well the war is going, and it's going unbelievably well, those countries are urging Trump to continue and finish the job. They're not urging, like the Washington Post and so many others all over the place, they're not urging him to declare victory and run. They're arguing for him to be victorious, to win. And giving up on the Straits of Hormuz means now the Iranians know our weakness. It'll mean that they will always, they will use that as their primary tool. So no, the Hormuz Straits need to be opened. The United States needs to assert its control. It needs to assert its overwhelming superiority militarily in the Hormuz Straits, not just in Iran proper. And, they need to do it whatever it takes. Whatever it takes. It is unbelievable how negative everybody is. Look, according to some estimates, the entire capacity of the Iranian regime to produce new ballistic missiles has been destroyed. The capacity to build drones has been eviscerated. They still have some ballistic missiles. They shoot them periodically at Israel, the UAE, Saudi Arabia, and so on. But the capacity to do that shooting has dramatically diminished. It's down 90% from the first days of the war. 90%. Even drones, which are much more difficult to locate and much easier to launch, down 90% from the beginning of the war. And the efficiency by which they're shut down, way up, above 95%. So they're still sending missiles, but almost nothing is hitting the ground. I mean, this air campaign, in my view, will go down as one of the most successful military operations in history, particularly if they stick another couple of weeks to it within a couple of weeks and actually get regime change. Whether the regime change happens in 2 weeks, 4 weeks, later this year, I believe that if they stick with it, if they keep going, regime change will happen. We'll get to the decapitation yesterday or last night in a minute. I mean, here's another one. U.S. leaders drastically underestimated the Iranian regime's ability to survive, adjust, and strike back. None of that is true. None of that is true. Iranian capacity to strike back has been dramatically diminished, and it's very weak right now. They thought, I think Israel thought, and their own casualty estimates, were that Iran would respond in a much harsher way, in a much more dramatic way than they actually did. So again, this is in the Atlantic. I mean, the negativity over and over and over again. Nobody thought that the Iranian regime would just say, whoops, sorry, yeah, we get it. We lost our supreme leader. We beg your forgiveness and we're giving up. Nobody thought that. Nobody serious thought that. Now, again, I think the Trump administration lacked a certain level of strategic planning, particularly with regard to the Straits of Hormuz. But so, yeah, I mean, they've hit 15,000 targets. They picked any target they want. They've destroyed, again, the entire missile building capacity. They've destroyed, they've made it impossible for the Iranians to launch missiles. They've eliminated their production of drones. And of course, they have completely decapitated the regime. The supreme leader is gone. His son, while in charge, won't show his face because he's probably been injured and is afraid. They've eliminated, most of the top commanders of the IRGC. Last night was this amazing night where not only did the General Soleimani, who was the head of the Basij forces, so the paramilitary Basij forces. This is under the IRGC. These are the forces that orchestrated the massacre of the peaceful protesters. They managed a network of black site torture chambers. They led the aggressive persecution of women and youth during the women's demonstration. They regularly used live ammunition against unarmed civilians. The leader of that organization, General Soleimani, was killed yesterday, but it wasn't just him. He was killed with 300 other Basij commanders, including the entire leadership, his deputy, and a bunch of other commanders. Wiped out. One bomb. Well, I don't know how many bombs. One location, several bombs. Right? I mean, that is huge. And that happened just last night. Also last night, even more significant than that, even more significant, and by the way, this is supposedly in Shiraz. They were all in a tent and they were having a meeting. They still have meetings, I guess, and they were all gone. They were all with the 72 virgins. Supposedly about 300 Basij commanders and field officers were killed in strikes yesterday. 300. I mean, at some point, it's going to be difficult to replace them with anybody experienced, anybody with any authority, anybody actually rally the troops to kill their own people. In addition to that, last night, the number one person in Iran with authority running the war post the killing of Khamenei, which was done on the first shot of the war, was Ali Larijani. Ali Larijani yesterday was killed with an airstrike in a safe house in Tehran. He was one of the, real veterans, certainly the most senior figure within the Iranian regime. He was closely associated with the previous supreme leader, Ali Khamenei. Now, it's true, the new Khamenei, the son, is still the leader, but he's invisible. He's not made an appearance. And by all accounts, he is not managing the day-to-day operations of the Iranian regime. Larijani was. And the Israelis found him and killed him, and he's gone. I mean, the ability to strike, kill, eliminate, the intelligence that Israel has, and I assume the United States has, but where these people are, which headquarters matter, is stunning. Is truly stunning. So the success here is overwhelming, right? What were the goals? Destroy missile capabilities, basically done. Destroy Navy, done. Destroy drone capabilities, done. Nuclear, to be done. Decapitate leadership, done. Regime change, to be determined. So what's left is regime change and nuclear. And at this pace, they can achieve both. Nuclear, either through negotiations or through special ops, they can achieve both. Already, many of the nuclear development facilities are being destroyed completely from the air. They don't have the enriched uranium yet, but they will get it one way or the other if they continue to doing this. If they continue doing this. Now, there's a lot of different reporting about where Larijani and Soleimani were killed and how they were killed, and I don't have any intelligence about the exact process by which happened, but it's unequivocal that both were killed, both are gone. The besieged leadership is being eviscerated. There's almost nothing left of it. And again, another massive success. And the doomsayers, both on the left and on the right, continue to be wrong. Remember, Tucker Carlson predicted that the Iranians had a fearsome arsenal of ballistic missiles and could easily kill thousands of Americans. Now, it's tragic, any American who dies, but what's been the casualty list? 8 and maybe 150 injured? Netanyahu now has told the IDF, as of, I think today, that if there's intelligence on a senior official in Iran or Hezbollah in Lebanon, that they have blanket approval to eliminate him without waiting for approval. So, they don't need the Secretary of Defense or Netanyahu, the Prime Minister's approval to eliminate senior officials of Hezbollah and Iran. That'll give operatives who are managing drones, managing the aircraft, managing intelligence, much more flexibility and immediacy and be able to further eliminate, some of these leaders. As I said, with the Basij, they got the top commander, the deputy commander, 10 senior officials, as well as up to 300 other Basij commanders and soldiers. Again, this is all softening up the military force that could be used against protesters in the event of an attempt for regime change, softening it up so that the regime change can happen without too many casualties on the civilian Iranian side. All right, let's see a few other things. As I said, Austria is dispatching an Austrian cruiser to the Pacific Gulf, again, to help, supposedly to help in the Straits of Hormuz. Let's see. I think we got that. We'll talk about that in a minute. Indian Navy has already escorted 2 LNG tankers through the Straits of Hormuz using its military ships. So they have naval warships in the Straits, in the Persian Gulf, and they're escorting them out. So they are there. Indian Navy is active. Let's see. We'll get to that. Okay. Let's see. Czech Republic. Czech Prime Minister has decided to dispatch a Czech cruiser to the Persian Gulf. So there you go. Another EU member heading in that direction. Even the British government, which has been against this, has supposedly drafted a plan for a coalition to secure shipping out of the Straits of Hormuz. It's shared it with the United States and several other countries, and I wouldn't be surprised to see some British cruisers in the Persian Gulf helping escort ships. All right. Let me just see. Yeah, so Israel yesterday took out the most senior official in Iran, and they took out the butcher, the guy whose name was the butcher, because he's the guy who ordered the attacks on and managed the attacks on civilians. Truly impressive. Let's see what else we've got. That Japan. Japan said that it is ready to send SDF warships to Hormuz. The Takaichi government is weighing whether they have the legal jurisdiction, but they intend to participate again in convoys to bring the ships out. Let's see. We'll get to that later. Yeah, just to give you a sense of ballistic missiles, interception rates. Day 1 through 3, the interception rates were 89 to 93%. Day 16, they were 96 to 98%. And it's easy to see why. If you're sending 20, 30 at a time, like they did in the first day, hard to intercept all of them. Some of them get through. If you're sending 1, 2, or 3 at a time, it's easy to get all of them. You get up to 96 to 98%. Same thing with drones. Drones were 90 to 94% on day 1 through 3, 97 to 99% on day 16 plus. Let me see. Yep, we talked about the Indian Navy. Yeah, I mean, here's one of the shocking things about this. While the Western media and Western experts and so-called experts and military experts and all these things are super negative about this war, Al Jazeera, the mouthpiece of the Qatari regime, anti-Western as it gets, ran this story a day ago. The U.S.-Israeli strategy against Iran is working. Here is why. And the subtitle is, every aspect of Iran's ability to project regional power is being successfully degraded. So here, one of the great outcomes of this is that Qatar is pivoting towards Israel and the United States. I don't know that we'd be completely shocked if Qatar joined the Abraham Accords, dumped Hamas. I mean, they've already asked Hamas to leave Qatar, and dumped maybe even, this would be huge, the Muslim Brotherhood. all because of the defeat of the Iranians. As I told you, I said many, many times, regime change in Iran has profound consequences for the entire region, for the entire world, for the entire world of Islam, for jihadism, and as a consequence for the West. Qatar is now, kicked out Hamas. It's turned against Hamas, supposedly. So, a lot of this has to be established and has to be made real. But early signs, very promising. Very, very, very promising. Let's see. I'm just scanning some of these news stories to see what we've missed. Even now, Neil Ferguson is like, this is going to be a global war. This is how it could become a global war. Unlikely, very, very, very unlikely. What is likely is that this is an overwhelming victory. Yeah, I got that. Yeah, Iran is allowing vessels to transit the Straits of Hormuz. At least 4 vessels passed in the past 24 hours. This was yesterday. There was a verification process. The Iranians want to make sure that they're not heading towards the United States. But it's a global market, so it doesn't matter if they go to the United States. The ships were 3 bulk carriers, 2 Greek, 1 Indian, and 1 Pakistani. But as long as oil is flowing into the world market, prices are stabilizing. They're stabilizing in the mid-90s. If the United States can show a credible plan and can start actually escorting ships out of the Persian Gulf without too many incidents, what you will find is that oil prices collapse. Oil prices collapse. One of the people that have been shown to be a complete fool when it comes to Iran, and Israel. Now, he was a complete fool always, and a complete fool about Russia, Ukraine, and always a complete fool, is distinguished professor of political science at the University of Chicago, Professor Mearsheimer. He's been quoted saying there's no country on the planet that is crueler and more deadly than Israel. He's been saying that they are likely to use nuclear weapons, that they're being destroyed, that they're being devastated. Really? Israel destroyed, devastated? Somebody should tell the Israelis that they're being destroyed and devastated. Somebody should pick up a call. I've said this before. Somebody should pick up the phone, call an Israeli and ask them, hey, are you guys destroyed and devastated? It's stunning. How bad his predictions have become. He's really proving to be a complete imbecile. Now, I told you he was an imbecile in his analysis of the Russia-Ukraine war. But there, he seemed to have some credibility and, whatever, because he predicted something. Now, he is so off base. He is so missing it completely that I think everybody can realize how completely clueless this guy is. He is an anti-Western, anti-American, probably anti-Semite, anti-Israel, not very smart, so-called intellectual. You remember, he's claiming Israel is suffering these massive casualties. Less than a dozen? Less than a dozen? That is less than 1% of what Israel was hit with after Hamas. And they survived that. They could certainly survive a dozen. Paul says, I'm in Israel. No devastation. Mostly damage from shrapnel falling. Yeah, and the damage is limited and localized. It's not huge. And I'm sure there are other people in Israel on the call. Right. If you want to ask questions, Super Chat is available, open to everybody. And yeah, ask questions to Super Chat. $2, all it takes. All right, let's see. We'll talk about that. It turns out that, people talk about Iran. Well, the fall of Iran won't be that big of a deal because most of the Islamists are Sunni and Iran is a Shiite, and it doesn't matter. But I've been saying this for decades now. Sunni Shiite doesn't matter when it comes to hatred of the West and hatred of Israel. It turns out that Iran has trained 20,000 Sudanese Muslim Brotherhood fighters. Indeed, Iran has been training, and Muslim Brotherhood is a Sunni organization, has been training Muslim Brotherhood fighters from all over the Middle East. The Iranian Quds Force, which is responsible for foreign operations, has developed ties with armed groups in Afghanistan, Iraq, Lebanon, West Bank, Gaza, Yemen, Sudan, Algeria, and some parts of East Africa, and by extension, with Islamist groups operating in Europe. Regime change eliminates the Quds Force. I mean, for that matter, just the leadership losses that the IRGC has suffered makes the Quds Force dramatically less powerful. So taking out Iran diminishes the influence of the Muslim Brotherhood. It diminishes their ability to get trained fighters. It diminishes the power of Islamism everywhere. All right, some other, as I told you, Gulf states are putting a lot of pressure. There's news stories about how much pressure they're putting on the Trump administration to finish this off. Here's another added benefit from this war. Chinese weapon systems are being shown to be, not particularly good. Chinese air defense systems are proving to be of low quality. Israel and the United States can get around them and destroy them fairly easily. If you're now a Chinese military official planning an invasion of Taiwan, you got to worry. You got to worry. I mean, all the kind of war games that result in China winning assume that all of China's military equipment works according to spec. It turns out it doesn't. Indeed, many people in the world are, not that interested in buying Chinese weapon systems anymore. They failed the stress test in Iran. They failed the stress test in Venezuela. There's a lot of corruption in the military, so a lot of these weapon systems, they advertise them functioning, and yet they funnel the money to the side, to their own bank accounts. We've had a couple of Chinese military industry experts responsible for air defense systems have now been removed from their position. They've been removed from the website of the Chinese Academy of Engineering because their anti-air radars didn't work, easily jammed by the Americans. Yeah, they had they worked in Pakistan. Maybe their plane shot down Indian planes, but India wasn't using F-35s. India didn't have the electronic jamming technology the Americans have, or the Israelis have. So they worked in a particular region against, last generation or 2 generations ago, equipment from the US. But in every region where the United States or Israel has actually engaged top-of-the-line latest tech, Chinese tech just does not match up. And given that China has basically fired every single one of their generals at the top, suggests on claims of corruption, it probably suggests that, I mean, what does corruption mean? It means that they pocketed the money instead of developing the weapon systems. They pocketed the money instead of making the weapon system state of the art. I mean, Iran has relied heavily on Chinese tech. I mean, Russia, we know already. So on Chinese tech to build defenses and offensive strike capabilities. Right? China's played a major role in Iran's missile and drone expertise. And the missiles are hopeless, and the drones, I mean, the drones are pretty good, but 97% of them are shot down. What's the point? So, yep. I mean, this is from an article. U.S. and Israeli forces have repeatedly demonstrated the ability to strike Iranian military targets, including missile infrastructure, radio installations, command facilities, and other key elements in Iran's defense network. Air defenses built partly on Russian technology have not denied access to Iranian airspace or prevented precision strikes against strategic sites. And that includes some Chinese tech. This is the reality, and it suggests. Here's about the India, Pakistan. During India's Operation Sindoor in 2025, Indian forces conducted precision strikes against targets inside Pakistan. Pakistan fields a military heavily equipped with Chinese systems. According to data from the Stockholm International Peace Research Institute, roughly 4/5, 80%, of Pakistan's defense imports originate from China. Pakistan operates Chinese-designed fighter aircraft, such as the JF-17 and the J-10. Chinese air defense systems include the HQ-9 and the HQ-16 families, Chinese radars, and Chinese drones. During the crisis, India was still able to conduct precision strikes against targets inside Pakistan. Indian forces used systems such as the BrahMos supersonic cruise missile and other precision weapons to hit military infrastructure across multiple locations. The fact that these strikes were conducted despite Pakistan's Chinese-supplied air defense architecture raised important questions about the effectiveness of these systems in denying airspace to a capable adversary. And again, this is not American weapon system. This is not the latest and greatest. The conflict illustrated a broader reality of modern warfare. Possessing advanced weapons on paper is not the same as fielding a fully integrated combat system capable of detecting, tracking, and defeating precision strikes from a technologically superior adversary. Israel has those capabilities. The United States has those capabilities. To some extent now, at least with regard to drones, Ukraine has those capabilities, and almost nobody else does. So, potentially, we have discovered that China is, in some regards at least, a paper tiger. Okay, a couple of other stories relating to the war, and then we'll move on. One related to China. Remember, China has a lot to lose in this war. It gets most of its oil. And if America wins, China is in trouble because it doesn't have independent sources of energy anymore. If the Hormuz Strait stay closed for a long time, China loses because it relies on that oil. China's in a very precarious position. It's why it's putting a lot of pressure on the Iranians to open up the Straits of Hormuz. All right, you remember we talked about the USS Ford? The USS Ford had gone through the Suez Canal, was in the Red Sea, and was heading towards the Gulf and was going to be deployed at the center of the action in the Gulf. The USS Ford already has been at sea 8 months, which is a lot longer than it should have been. It should have been home after 6. And what happened over the last few days on the USS Ford is that a fire broke out. A small fire that started in the ship's main laundry area sped through the ventilation to several other areas of the ship, which required, a huge amount of work on behalf of the seamen to put it out. Now, the fort has 600 sailors and other crew members. Or no, there's more than that. But 600 of them have lost their beds in the fire. As a consequence of that, the fort is going back through the Suez Canal to the island of Crete, where the United States has a facility, a maintenance facility where the aircraft carrier can be fixed. Now, and this is troublesome, there is some reason to believe that this might have been set ablaze on purpose by some of the crew members, given how upset they are about the fact that they haven't been able to go back home, hoping that this will cause the ship to sail back home. I hope that's not true, but there are stories arguing that it is. We'll see. But for now, it's out of the. It's not going to participate in whatever's going to happen in Hormuz Straits. This could be a reason why escorting ships out of the Hormuz Straits has been delayed, because I think they were relying on the USS Ford and its carrier group. And again, USS Ford is now seemingly, at least for now, out of commission and going back to Crete, both for refueling, to investigate the fire, and to fix it so that the crew members have a place. Finally, with regard to the war, we have a story about the Director of National Counterterrorism Center in the United States resigned this morning, basically saying that he cannot, in good conscience, support the ongoing war in Iran. Iran posed no imminent threat to our nation, and it's clear that we started this war due to pressure from Israel and its powerful American lobby. In other words, the Director of National Counterterrorism Center was MAGA and was hired because, to a large extent, because of his MAGA credentials. He's an anti-war portion of the whole MAGA group, if you will, and has been listening to Tucker too much, I guess, and is now leaving because, again, he does not believe in this war. He believes this is a disaster. This is not good for Trump. This will embolden the elements within MAGA that are anti this war. But so far, Trump has a significant majority of MAGA supporting the war. So Americans not supporting the war, but at least his base seems to still support him. Somebody says the guy is super anti-Semitic too. Wouldn't surprise me at all. This is what happens when you appoint people based on their, political affiliation rather than based on their qualifications. All right, that's what I have to say about Iran. Basically, war is going well, amazingly well. Most of the goals of the war have, you could argue, already been achieved. The one goal that I think the Trump administration defaulted on and could have done a lot better was the Straits of Hormuz. Seems to be in the process of being fixed. Nuclear weapon extraction or nuclear weapons capability destruction is to a large extent being done, but there's still a way to go, and that's why, according to Israeli sources and American sources, this is not going to end in day 18. It's going to go for weeks. And look, from the beginning of this war, I said, this is a just war, a good war. It's good that Trump engaged in it. Trump was, of course, a wild card. He could end it at any time. You can't tell. To the extent that he perseveres and goes through with it, this will be huge. And I've told you before that winning the war in Iran has geopolitical consequences beyond the Middle East, global geopolitical consequences on China, on Islam in Europe, on the Muslim Brotherhood more broadly, and on the Middle East and the prospects for peace for Israel. So this is hugely important, and I hope, in spite of the fact that I despise Trump, it hasn't changed my mind about despising Trump. Trump is a bad guy. I still hope he sticks with it. And he sticks with it to the point of victory. I think victory is possible, i.e. victory qua regime change is indeed possible. All right. Good news. Two good news stories. The first one is Cuba seems like it's starting to crumble. It seems like the pressure, primarily because of taking out the Venezuelan, taking out Maduro, and basically preventing oil from reaching the Cuban shore, has basically put the Cuban economy and the Cuban political system under so much pressure that they are now negotiating with the United States about their future. It also seems the Trump administration is going to insist that the president of Cuba right now, the dictator-in-chief right now, has to go for the, for the island to be allowed to regain any kind of normalcy. The U.S. is also pushing. The U.S. so far is not pushing for any action against Castro's family members, who remain the country's top power brokers, at least for now. But they are looking for different ways in which to achieve some form of regime change. And the implementation of real structural economic changes. Now, the motivation for the Cuban regime to help work on this is the fact that the place is crumbling. It's been crumbling for decades slowly, and it's reached a crucial tipping point. For example, last night, basically there was a power outage for the entire island. The power crisis is only worsening. It's been around for weeks, but it's only worsening. The photos, you can find photos online of just the fact that there's no electricity in Havana. And the regime is slowly coming to the realization that they are better to negotiate an exit than to be left to, in a sense, the whim of their own people and what their own people will do to them. So it's going to be interesting to watch what Trump will actually negotiate here. Will it be real freedom, or will it just be replacing one strong man with another, like in Venezuela? The dictatorship has also released political prisoners, some at least. They've also announced a opening up. They're going to allow investments by exiled Cubans. They can allow exiled Cubans to visit the island and to partner with locals in private companies with no affiliation with the government, so the government is not going to try to take control over them. They can allow participation of exiled Cubans in the banking system of Cuba and supposedly the creation of new financial institutions in Cuba. Exiled Cubans will be able to open foreign currency accounts in Cuban banks. So there seems to be some small, for now, opening up of the Cuban economy and increased influence of exiled Cubans who are fairly wealthy, living in Miami and elsewhere. And again, this is preliminary signs that Cuba is maybe moving towards opening up, and you will see a freedom, or at least semi-free Cuba in the weeks, months, years to come. So I think important, and a payoff on what Trump did in Venezuela. This is a direct consequence of that. So you have to say that in this realm, Venezuela, Iran, Cuba, Trump has been doing good work. And I know, some of you don't believe I can ever say that because I've got something that you define as, what is it? Oh, TDS. But no, when he does actually something good, I say it. See, I'm objective about Trump. I know his evil, and I know the things that he does that are good. And, it all animates my ultimate appraisal of him. But yeah, Venezuela ultimately looks like it will be a good call. And let's hope he can stick it out with Iran. And if he does, it'll be pretty amazing. And of course, if Cuba, ultimately, the consequence is the fall of the Cuban regime and the liberating of the Cuban people, that too will be truly, truly, truly amazing. All right, one more positive story. Positive story. Paul Ehrlich is dead. He died yesterday at the age of 93. I don't know. Now, I don't know how many of you know who Paul Ehrlich was, but here's a guy who was a Stanford University professor, one of the biggest doomsayers, doom predictors this world has ever seen. A guy who created, I think, the kind of energy in the modern environmentalist movement about the world is going to end tomorrow. Finally died. Here's a few headline, a headline that I agree with. America's worst public intellectual, rest in peace. How Paul Ehrlich, this is an article on Faster Please, which is a Substack. How Paul Ehrlich's population panic helped shape a half-century of pessimism about technology, growth, and humanity's future on Earth. Absolutely. God, where did I? There it is. Or from Reason Magazine, population doomster and false prophet of ecological apocalypse. Paul Ehrlich has died. The author of The Population Bomb was never right, but never in doubt that the world was about to end. So, good riddance. I mean, this guy was really evil. His hatred of mankind was deep and entrenched. His book is about as evil and horrific as you can imagine. Here's the prologue to The Population Bomb, written in 1968. I'm going to read to you. Listen to this. This is the first line. The battle to feed all of humanity is over. In the 1970s and 80s, hundreds of millions of people were starved to death, in spite of any crash programs embarked upon now. At this late date, nothing can prevent a substantial increase in the world's death rate. Although many lives could be saved through dramatic programs to stretch the carrying capacity of the earth by increasing food production and providing for more equitable distribution of whatever food is available. But these programs will only provide a stay of execution unless they are accompanied by determined and successful efforts at population control. Population control is the conscious regulation of the number of human beings to meet the needs, not just of individual families, but of society as a whole. See the evil collectivism here. We will decide how many kids you will have. It has to meet the needs of society as a whole. I go on to quote, this is from the book. Nothing could be more misleading to our children than our present affluent society. They will inherit a totally different world, a world in which the standards, politics, and economics of the past decade are dead. As the most influential nation in the world today and its largest consumer, the United States cannot stand isolated. We are today involved in the events leading to famine, eco-catastrophe. Tomorrow we may be destroyed by them. Opposition requires that we take immediate action at home and promote effective action worldwide. We must have population control at home, hopefully through changes in our value system, but by compulsion. If voluntary methods fail, compulsion, he means involuntary sterilization, which he was a huge advocate for. I go on. Americans must also change the way of living as to minimize the impact on the world's resources and environment. Programs which combine ecologically sound agricultural development and population control must be established and supported in undeveloped countries. In other words, sterilize those poor people. Don't allow them to have children. While this is being done, we must take action to reverse the deterioration of our environment before our planet is permanently ruined. It cannot be emphasized, however, that no changes in behavior or technology can save us unless we can achieve control over the size of the human population. The birth rate must be brought into balance with the death rate, or mankind will breed itself into oblivion. We can no longer afford merely to treat the symptoms of the cancer of population growth. The cancer itself must be cut out. I mean, this guy, he bemoans the fact that there's been a victory over malaria, yellow fever, smallpox, cholera, and other infectious diseases, right? Because it's been responsible for a plunge in death rates, which has allowed the population to grow, and we can't feed them. Now, note that he wrote all this after the Green Revolution, after it was clear that productivity in farming was going through the roof. I mean, this guy was truly evil. He says, in the long run, the progressive deterioration of our environment may cause more death and misery than the food population gap. So he wants, he bemoans the birth of new children. Yeah, you can, one second. There are some professional optimists around who like to greet every sign of dropping birth rates with wild pronouncement about the end of population explosion. They are little like a person who, after a low temperature of 5 below zero on December 21st, interprets a low of only 3 below zero on 22nd as a cheery sign of approaching spring. Now, Ehrlich was proved wrong, right, by all of this. Over and over and over again, he was proved wrong. And it didn't stop him from reinventing the doomerism, from reinventing the case for why we will all die one way or the other. He was a huge promoter of global cooling and then of global warming. A huge promoter of extinction theory, species extinction. And the consequence for human beings was going to be devastating. Remember, when he wrote Population Bomb in 1968, the population of the world was, I think if I'm right, around 2 billion. It's 8 billion today, 4x. And yet, the amount of calories that each human being consumes, 4 times more people, is significantly higher on average than it was in 1968. And think about this. He was at Stanford University. He was considered a great enlightened intellectual. Even decades after, he was proven wrong on population. He was still revered by much of the intellectual class and by the entire environmentalist movement, and still held a position at Stanford. He advocated for the United States to encourage India to sterilize men with 3 or more children. And he suggested that to do this, we should supply them with helicopters, vehicles, surgical instruments. And when asked about whether this should be done through coercive measures, he said, coercion? Perhaps, but coercion in a good cause. And what is a good cause? Fewer children. China's one-child policy, which is devastating to China today, in spite of the fact that they've done away with that policy, still devastating to them, was inspired by his writings and by his influence on the Club of Rome. He advocating telling anybody that had 2 children that they're selfish if they had more. Selfish being bad, according to him, right? He says, the target should be 2 children max. And the whole book is filled with this crap, and his advocacy later on was filled with this crap. And again, the fact that he was admired, revered, respected. Here's some Washington Post editorial. Quote, Ehrlich's era anti-case of hindsight being 2020. These advances in crop yields, known as the Green Revolution, were already in progress when Ehrlich wrote The Population Bomb. Norman Borlaug, the Iowa agricultural scientist who led the development and spread of these more efficient crops worldwide, won the Nobel Peace Prize just 2 years after the book's publication. So the dramatic increases in food yield went out. Didn't stop Ehrlich from, advocating for this. And indeed, India engaged in forced sterilization, as did many African countries, preventing millions of people from, being born. So, good riddance, Paul Ehrlich. But here's the New York Times. So give you a flavor of, Paul Ehrlich, who alarmed the world with the population bomb, dies in 93. But listen to this subtitle. His best-selling 1968 book, which forecast global famines, made him a leader of the environmental movement. But he faced criticism when his predictions proved wrong? No, it's the New York Times. I'm not going to say he's wrong. When his predictions proved premature. Premature. Are we facing a population bomb today? Is mass starvation around the corner? Did he just miss it by 50 years? It's just pathetic. Just pathetic. The guy was, if you can watch an interview with him, he did a 60-minute interview 2 years ago at the age of 91. I mean, he was completely unfazed by the fact that he was wrong. Completely, constantly rationalizing it away, shifting his focus. Okay, so it wasn't population; it's mass extinction of animals. It's something else. But humanity is doomed. He told us over and over and over again. Well, good riddance to him, and a good riddance to anybody. And hopefully people will learn from it. It's unlikely people will learn from it. It's unlikely people will figure it out. But at least having one less evil intellectual, public intellectual out there, I think is a net benefit to all of us. So I'm willing to say good riddance and happy is gone. All right, finally, Tucker was in the news this weekend. Just a bizarre, totally bizarre chain of events. Tucker announced in his show that he had been informed by the CIA that they are reading his text messages and they are preparing a criminal referral against him. That he was being monitored by the CIA for his texting, I guess, with Qatar or with maybe Russia, and that they were going to bring about a criminal case against him. Now, this is bizarre on so many levels. First of all, the CIA doesn't monitor American citizens. Now, they might be monitoring a foreign agent, and if Tucker exchanged texts with that foreign agent, then they're reading those exchanges because they're monitoring the foreign agent. But the CIA has no authority to monitor U.S. residents, U.S. citizens. So it's not clear what the hell, and then it's not, why would the CIA tell him this? Why would the CIA tell him this? It's actually probably the NSA, if anybody's listening to your conversations. But they're not going to come out and tell you. So, you know, the CIA operates outside of the United States, not in the United States. They can't legally listen in to conversations of Americans. So the whole thing, that, to begin with, is bizarre and weird. Then Tucker's brother goes on X with a lengthy definition of treason to try to defend his brother that he didn't do it. Didn't do what? Didn't do what? Maybe he did do it if they're getting so defensive. Then Axios and the Trump administration deny that the CIA wrote him anything and revealed anything to him, that any of this is true. Now, you know, of course, the administration has no interest in revealing it, even if it was true. But the whole thing is just weird. What did Tucker actually do? Is he acting as a foreign agent? Is he a spy? And then there was the story that Trump knew that Tucker was a spy, feeding the enemy information. So Trump, the 3D, 4D chess player that he is, told Tucker, gave Tucker false information about the war in Iran, that then Tucker passed on to his Iranian handlers, I guess, but it was false. So there were a lot of memes about this all over the place, and how Trump has played Tucker. So it really is bizarre. It really is strange. But of course, nothing is strange when it comes to Tucker. I mean, there could be some basis for this, given Tucker's connections, both in Russia, Qatar, and potentially Iran. So it could be that he has those connections. It could be that he is talking to him. It could be that the NSA and other law enforcement organizations are looking at him. It could also be just one big lie. One big nihilistic attempt to get more attention to himself. To position himself as a victim, persecuted by evil Donald Trump and by the agents of the Jews. Now, I think that is probably the right explanation. I think that's probably what's happening. I think Tucker's just making it up to gain attention. If not, we will see him being indicted. In sometime in the near future, which is not an outcome I bemoan. That might be a good outcome as well. Anyway, Tucker continues to feed, or present himself as totally nuts, totally lost the plot, totally, craziness on steroids. All right. That, my friends, is the news for this March 17th. I will now move to your Super Chat questions. And we can continue. One second, let me just, let's see. One second, let me just do this. All right, so we'll turn to the Super Chat. You can still contribute to the Super Chat. We're trying to raise $500 today on the show. We're in our second hour. We're just 150 short, so we're doing really well on the fundraising side. There's a lot of questions, and I do have a hard stop in 15 minutes. Stickers are welcome. Stickers are great because it's a way to support the show without asking a question and without, it's simple and easy. Let me thank some of the sticker people. Jeffrey, thank you. Roland, thank you. Silvanos, thank you. Let's see. Mary Aline, thank you. And yeah, stickers can be $2, $50, $5, all the way up to $500. Vadim, thank you. CP Milken, thank you. And Jacob, thank you. Thank you guys. Really appreciate it. So yes, $50, $100 stickers are really possible. Let me just try to do this. Let me check. That's right. One second. Oh, God. All right. All right, let's see. We've got super chats. Oh, sponsors. The Einman Institute still holding that event in Porto, Portugal. An amazing conference that we're going to have. I'm going to be there. Onko will be there. Taltzfani will be there. Check it out. Einman.org/start here. Check out ARC Porto, and yeah, it would be great, particularly if you're in Europe. Jump on over. It's fairly easy. Porto's a wonderful city. Come and join us at the conference. It'll be a lot of fun. Alex Epstein is wow. I mean, one of the leaders of advocating for freedom in the world today, and the #1 expert on all things related to energy and power. Check out alexepstein.substack.com, hendershotwealth.com, Hendershot with 2 T's, hendershotwealth.com/YBS. Their products for capital gains taxes to reduce your capital gains tax liability significantly. So check him out. You can check out my interview with Robert Hendershot on the sponsors playlist on my YouTube channel. Check out the interview. Robert's always fun to interview, engage. I'll probably be interviewing him again in a few weeks. But check him out sign up or check out their website if you find it interesting. And then finally, defendersofcapitalism.com. Check out the website, defendersofcapitalism.com. This is Michael Williams's website and project. I am part of that project. We're building a curriculum to defend capitalism from a political, economic, but most importantly, philosophical and moral perspective. Check out what we've done and see. Maybe you can think of a way to bring it into your organization and use it. But go check out the website no matter what. I think you'll learn from it. All right, let's see. All right, cool. Let's jump in. One last reminder, Patreon, patreon.com. It's a way to support this show, the Yaron Brook Show, on a monthly basis, which is fantastic because it's predictable and steady. And you can do it, just go, again, patreon.com, Yaron Brook Show, and sign up. You can do anything from any amount, really, from $2 to $1,000 or more, and become a monthly supporter of the show. If somebody wants to do $1,000, please, and if you can afford to do it and the show is valuable to you, please consider doing at whatever level you can. All right. Let's jump in. Let's start with Mike. Now that military decision-making in Iran is decentralized, won't this discourage strategic thinking and encourage infighting? Yes, absolutely. Decentralization can work for a while, but as the top leadership is decapitated, as they're eliminated, the guys lower down have to start thinking about their future, the possibility of such a future. They also have to start thinking about who is going to be eliminated next, and who should lead them, and who is going to be pushed up. And yes, you're going to have a lot more infighting and a lot more. I'm also reading a lot of news about defections, about military bases where the soldiers have gone home, by IRGC troops that are disobeying orders, besiege groups that are walking away after their camps are being completely destroyed by the Israeli Air Force. So you're already seeing, I think, the beginnings of real infighting and desertion and lack of discipline and frustration. And look, here's the reality, reality that I know a lot of you don't want to accept. Iran has nothing. It's all those predictions about Iran being this powerful, there's nothing there. And the more they realize that, and the more they realize they are zeroed out, they're nothing militarily, the more they're going to be forced out, the more they're going to be discouraged, the more they're going to be, the more infighting you're going to get. And the more likely regime change becomes. Michael, do you expect Trump to do anything good with the economy over the next 3 years, a combination of populist statist policies and free market reforms in other areas? Yeah, I mean, we've talked about this over again. Deregulation is good. What he's doing with environmental regulation in particular is particularly good. Other things are statist and horrible. The new housing bill that he's pushing through the House and Senate is not good. So that's the project that stops corporate ownership of homes for rent. If they do an attempt to cap interest rates and credit cards, that would be a disaster. Of course, immigration's a disaster. Tariffs are a disaster. But there are some good things that he's done. He's cut taxes. He hasn't cut spending, which is a disaster. And he is doing deregulation. So deregulation is the number one good thing Trump is doing from an economic perspective. And the more he does, the better it will be. And I think that he's got some really thoughtful people at the EPA, at the Department of Energy, at the Department of the Interior, who are doing significant deregulation things that should encourage energy production, encourage resources extraction, and encourage big projects, because environmental reviews will be a lot simpler and a lot easier. The question is he doing it in a way that will be very difficult for a Democratic president in the future to reverse? And that I'm not sure. James, do you find it hard to get into the heads of people with a consistently nihilistic mindset? Human psychology is hard, or did Ayn Rand find it easy? Yeah, I think it's very hard. It's very hard to get into anybody's head, but particularly people whose whole way of looking at the world is different from yours. I can kind of understand socialists, old line socialists, who in some sense want to make the world a better place, but are completely wrong about it. But there's some positive intent. Versus the nihilists who, God, there's just nothing. There's just nothing positive about it. Nihilists of the left, nihilists of the right. I think most socialists become nihilists ultimately when it doesn't work, or they become more pragmatic. But if they stick to their guns, they become nihilists. So yeah, nihilism, it's hard to get in the head of a nihilist. It's hard to project what your mind would be like if you were nihilistic. Because it's so anti-values, and a healthy mind is pro-values. It's value-oriented constantly. So yeah, very much so. Paul, what is your opinion of Canada, Australia, and England letting the Ayatollahs enter their countries? I think it's horrible. I think I've been saying it's horrible for 20 plus years. I don't understand it. It's evil, but they wanted the oil, they wanted the money. They were spending a lot of money there. But these were the enemy, and you're letting the enemy into your country. And as I've told you, a lot of real estate in Toronto, a lot of real estate in London. I don't know about Australia, but certainly London and Toronto is Iranian. It's the Ayatollahs. It's some of the most evil people on the face of the earth own property in these places, and everybody knows it. It's out in the open, basically, and nobody seems to care. It's that fear of moral judgment, fear of declaring somebody an enemy and somebody evil. It's such weakness. It's really pathetic. Ian, during Biden's Afghanistan withdrawal, a worthy thing, there were 13 soldiers killed, and Biden's popularity never recovered. There are now 13 soldiers killed in 2026 Iran war. Will it hurt Trump's popularity similarly? No, you can't compare the two. God. And it wasn't a worthy thing. Not the way he did it, and not how he did it, when he did it. It was just a complete failure so 13 soldiers killed for what? in the name of American weakness, in the name of American, lack of planning, in the name of American lack of strategy. Iran war is going really, really well. And for full-fledged war against a country like Iran, for only 13 people to die, that is an amazing success. And I think people get that. The two are not comparable. And the thing is, Biden didn't suffer that much because of 13 dead. He suffered because of the just pathetic nature of the whole exercise. How quickly the Taliban took control of everything. And how pathetic it was to see the United States run with its tail between its legs. The whole thing was misconceived. The fact that Trump signed a peace deal with the Taliban the year earlier. And then the fact that Biden just evacuated without any strategy, without any considerations, and without dealing a death blow to the Taliban, which is what should have been done. Yes, we should have left. But before that, we should have bought the B-2s and the B-1s and the B-52s and eviscerated anything of the Taliban we could find. And then walked away. No, I don't think they're comparable at all. Lewis, perhaps it's time to call out the isolationists for their TDS. It's only fair. Yeah, all the isolationists called me for TDS. Maybe they should be accused now of TDS. Good call. I like that. Thanks, Lewis. Not your average algorithm. To what extent should we tolerate morally mixed people in our personal lives, in our families, at work? If we cut people off as soon as we discover their moral flaws, we won't be able to move forward in this world. Yeah, it's contextual, right? If somebody's morally flawed, you probably don't want to, in significant ways, you probably don't want to marry them. You probably don't want them as best friends. But, in a particular context, certainly at work, you can't expect people, particularly in this world, particularly today, not having been exposed to the right moral ideas, you can't expect them to be 100% moral. So you have to evaluate the value. You have to trade it off. How morally flawed? They are mass murderers. Well, yeah, we know what to do about that. The fraudsters, I think we know what to do about that. But once in a while they lie. Okay, so there's a certain distance you want to keep from them. But you can't just cut everybody off who once in a while lies. It's just everywhere. Family, it depends on what you're getting in return, right? What is the value of family? And what are you willing to tolerate in order to get that value? But we live in a mixed world. Most people are going to be mixed. You have to accept that reality. Otherwise, you're living in a fantasy. Harrison, from what I've seen online, most, and I suspect all MAGA members who are upset about this war are groypers and Nick Fuentes fans. Kudos to Trump for giving them as much attention as they merit, which is zero. Maybe. I don't know that Tucker is, and Tucker fans are groypers. I don't think Megyn Kelly is a groyper. There are plenty of MAGA people who are not groypers who still oppose Trump. I'm glad Trump has written Tucker Carlson off. I'm glad Trump has written a lot of these other people off. That's a good sign. Maybe they'll have less power in the Republican Party moving forward. But again, what I fear are the J.D. Vance and even Rubio, because they take these ideas of nationalism seriously, and it's hard to tell what kind of world they would like to create when they gain a position of power. Particularly Rubio, who right now is loved universally. What is he really about? What does he really want? Particularly in domestic policy, that will determine whether he's worthy of support or not. Molten Splendor, I recently heard that paychecks for the IRGC weren't being delivered because of their bank was bombed. Have you heard of this as well? Yeah, I covered it one of the shows last week. Yes, the Israeli Americans, somebody bombed the main bank of the IRGC. Not even the bank, they bombed the data center where all the data was being held, and that is required to produce the checks. So yes, a lot of these Basij and IRGC soldiers are not getting their paychecks, and this is contributing to the mass defection that is going on within their ranks. John, thank you for the sticker. I really appreciate it. All right. Here's Clark. Why is everyone saying Bibi has been unalived? I don't know what that means. Killed? I don't know who's saying that. But Bibi is still there, so I'm not sure what that means at all. You'll have to explain the context of that, because I haven't seen anybody say that. Clark says, John Mearsheimer is clearly an anti-Semite. I think that's right. It's a travesty Judge Napolitano has him on all the time. I agree, but Napolitano, unfortunately, is captured by the anti-American wing of the Libertarian Party, who hates any American intervention anywhere in the world, even when it's an act of self-defense. They hate nobody as much as they ultimately hate themselves. James, our intellectuals seem to believe you're only allowed to do the bare minimum to defend yourself, and even then, it's still your fault. Yeah, intellectuals hate America, hate Israel, hate the West, basically, the hatred of the West. And these are some intellectuals on the left, some intellectuals on the right, some libertarian intellectuals. They hate the West, and therefore the enemies of the West are always right, and the West has no moral standing by which to defend itself, because of colonialism or because of statism. But, everyone has their thing. Or, America is the #1 terrorist country in the world, you'll hear, from the libertarians in particular. So, yeah, there's a real visceral hatred of Western civilization. Liam, should we be legally allowed to take out a life insurance policy on someone without telling them? God, I don't see why not. I know it creates this incentive to kill them, but that's a different story. I don't see why you shouldn't be allowed to take out an insurance policy. That in and of itself cannot be allowed. Killing the person is what is illegal. So it's a contractual issue that the market needs to solve. I don't think the government has any say in it one way or the other. Liam, this is a quote from Elon Musk. Socialism is the theory that if you abolish profits, bread will somehow bake itself out of moral superiority. That's a really good Elon Musk quote. He has really good quotes, and then he has really awful ones as well. He's such a mixed character. Maribens, Philosophy at Work, thank you for a lovely Pi Day wedding. I look forward to a lifetime of nerdness with you. Again, congratulations to Maribens and Philosophy at Work on getting married. It's great to see people who flirted on the Yaron Brook Show get together and tie the knot. It's fantastic. Have a great, long, happy life together. Hopper Gamble, is Trump's plan to have no plan? No, again, he has some plans, but he wings it, and there's a lot of emotion that goes into it. But I don't think that it is. And he has other people who do the planning. That is, the Pentagon does a lot of the actual planning. Hopper Campbell, while emotions are not tools of cognition, isn't suppressing emotions ignoring evidence? Yes, it's ignoring evidence about you, about how you respond to things. So you should never suppress emotions. You just shouldn't act on them without thought. Emotions are emotions. They are what they are. And you should always recognize them as such. You should never suppress them or evade them. Recognize them and try to understand them. Hopper Campbell, what is the culture preventing altruism from going too deep? What in the culture is preventing altruism from going too deep? I think it's just the Enlightenment values that still exist out there, the idea of pursuit of happiness, the idea of self-improvement, the idea of my life is mine. I think those ideas coming out of the Enlightenment are still hanging around. And that prevents altruism from going too deep to the point of destroying your own life willingly. People are not willing to do that. They still want to be happy. They still want to be successful. Harrison, no, really. I ran into this problem when trying to show a song to ChatGPT. You can describe music to it, even verbally, but there's no mechanism for it to hear a melody itself. The LLMs are deaf. Well, it depends what you mean by deaf. You can talk to it and it will understand your words, but it's probably deaf to music because it has no way to relate to music. It has no way to describe, to do anything with just sounds. It can learn the pronunciation of a word. It can't learn music. I think that's right. Not your average algorithm. I don't think Americans will ever hand over their Second Amendment rights, no matter how authoritarian we become. It's our only right people get violently animated about. On that, I will just say we will see. Hopefully we'll never get to that, but we will see. Michael, is Trump getting rid of Jones Act to lower gas prices? Yes. He knows, and he's not getting rid of the Jones Act. I wish. He is suspending it for a finite, short period of time. That's it. He's not getting rid of it. And he knows, his people know, that the Jones Act raises prices on Americans. So he is suspending it to get prices, at least of gasoline, down for the short period of time in which it's suspended. Nebule, thank you for the sticker. Really appreciate it. Michael says, have you seen Ted Cruz pushing back against anti-Semitism in the new right? Yeah, I think he's doing a good job. I don't like Ted Cruz and what he's become, but it's good. It's good that at least he has a line in the sand. At least he has some standards that he's willing to fight against. Good for him. Paul, was the Chinese hypersonic missile used? I don't know. I don't think so. I think all the missiles used are maybe Chinese help design, but they're ultimately Iranian built. Kiki, I think. Can you risk Iran collapse and uranium ending up lost rogue cell? And what if of it isn't all at known sites or hidden in some trunk with rogue cells? I mean, here's the point. It's 60%. You'd still have to refine it. You'd need technology for that. You'd need centrifuges. Israeli intelligence, American intelligence would discover if you tried to do that. They'd figure out where you are. I'm really not worried about that. I'm not worried about rogue cells. I'm not worried about that much. I mean, maybe you could build a dirty bomb, but that wouldn't be a nuclear bomb. It'll just be a destructive, but it would be a dirty bomb. You'd still have to be able to smuggle the uranium out. Very difficult. And you're underestimating how powerful intelligence is in tracking these kind of things and abating or disrupting those kind of plans. So I think certainly Israel, I think, has a plan on what to do with the uranium, whether the Americans do or not. Because they're obviously the most likely victim. Harrison, when you mess with America, we will turn your philosopher king gay. I'd also like to bet you $10 Tucker Carlson is literally an Iranian spy. Yeah, I doubt he's an Iranian spy. Yeah, I don't think he's an Iranian spy. You need to be, I don't think he's smart enough to be an Iranian spy. But it is funny that rumors are now, the rumor is that the supreme leader of Iran is actually a homosexual, even though homosexuality is illegal in Iran and potentially punished by death. The leader of Iran is rumored again, and supposedly the CIA believes this, that he is a homosexual. Kind of funny. Mary Eileen, Ehrlich was a biologist who specialized in insects. Maybe he saw us as insects, such an evil man. Yeah, I think he saw us as probably insects, as a plague. He hated human beings. He celebrated, I think, human death. He wanted that. He wanted fewer people for the sake of having fewer people. ZG run something. Third possibility, Tucker got conned. A la LEG. Yeah, you're right. That's definitely a possibility that he got conned. I think the most likely possibility is he made it up because he's just like he makes other stuff up. But it could be that it's one big con. It could be, absolutely. Somebody conned him, called him up, said they were CIA, and he believed them. Roman, last question. And by the way, Wes, thank you for the $50 sticker. Really, really, really appreciate that. Thank you. We're less than $50 away from the goal. So like a couple of $20 questions and we can get there. So we can get to the goal. So please consider doing a couple of $20 questions or somebody do another $50 sticker and we're done. Roman says, Yaron, today is Shaharashanbe Suri, the Iranian fire festival, beginning the New Year festivities. The purifying fire cleanses us from Laranjani. Yes, and it's also, of course, it's more of a pre-Islamic holiday, so I'm sure the regime doesn't particularly like it. The son of the Shah has already been out encouraging the security forces to back out so that the Iranians can go out into the street and celebrate. It's happening right now, so I don't know what's going on in the streets of Iran right now, but so I'm not sure. I'm not sure what the regime is doing with the celebrations. Molten Splendor, do you know if Israel or the United States will soon be destroying the coastal caves along the Straits of Hormuz? Also about China, France, etc., escorting ships. I mentioned escorting earlier. It does look like the United States has been bombing extensively along the shore there. I don't know in particular caves, but basically taking out sites from which they could launch drones and missiles, anti-ship missiles, bases, small ports, maybe caves as well. So they are taking that out as much as possible, is my understanding. It does look like France, maybe even the UK, but a couple of other European countries, including the Japanese and then the Indians, all going to participate in escorting ships. I don't think China will join, although Trump has pushed them to join. I don't think they're quite. I don't think they're going to join. We'll see. It would be great if they did, but we will see. So hard to tell. Harrison, what do you think of Ben Shapiro's one-man crusade to cleanse the right of anti-Semitism and nihilism? I mean, good for him. It's going to be difficult, and I think at the end of the day, it is people like Ben Shapiro, as I've said before, who made the anti-Semitism and nihilism possible. It is them who celebrated Donald Trump and celebrated much of the new right, celebrated Tucker until most recently, celebrated these people. To a large extent, he promoted Candace Owen when it was clear she was already crazy, and gave her the prominence she got, and then became an anti-Semite. So they have some blame to carry here, but it's good that at least Ben Shapiro and Mark Levin are fighting back. Good for Mark and good for Ben. The challenge is that they're just considered Jews, right? And they're not taking that seriously, because they're just dismissed as they're doing it because they're Jews. Richard, I would support the Iran action if we had some idea of who replaces the theocrats' thoughts. I don't care who replaces the theocrats. It doesn't matter. As long as they're not theocratic, right? I mean, what makes Iran dangerous is their religiosity. I don't care if it's a secular dictator. I don't care if it's a democracy, if it's a constitutional republic, if it's a constitutional monarchy. What difference does it make from the perspective of the interest of the United States and the interest of Israel? All they want is the long-term threat to be eliminated. And a secular strong man, while bad for the Iranian people maybe, probably does not hate Israel, probably does not hate the United States, probably is not building nuclear weapons. So, no, I mean, as long as the theocracy's gone, it doesn't matter who replaces them from the perspective of the interests of Israel and the United States. Now, it's better if it is some kind of somebody who advocates for freedom. But even if it's not, it's still worth it. From the perspective of self-defense. A friend of Aristotle, thank you for the sticker. Really appreciate that. All right, everybody. Thank you to all the super chatters, all the sticker people. Really, really appreciate the support. I will be back tomorrow. From now until early April, we've got shows. So pretty much every day, Saturdays, Sundays, unless something comes up. So I will see you tomorrow and have a